I get why you were surprised the NFL put the 49ers on a Saturday. It felt odd, out of step with the flow of the postseason, and that confusion became part of the story of the game. Right away, you could feel a little chip on the team's shoulder. The perfect kind of us-against-the-world fuel that good teams use. That energy showed up in the details. There were controversial moments at the end that had Philly fans furious. A holding non-call on what looked like Trent Williams against Nolan. Smith on the go-ahead touchdown, and a late slide that cost the Eagles 15 yards. Those calls, or non-calls, are the stuff people will rewatch and argue about. But what I want you to hold on to is how the 49ers absorbed the noise and still closed the game the way winners do. Speaking of coaching choices, one thing that's going to keep the comment section busy. When the Niners went up 23-19, should they have gone for two? You know Jake Elliott had missed an extra point earlier, and a successful two-point try would have forced him into a perfect kick to retake the lead. Coach Shanahan opted for the extra point, and that decision changed the arithmetic of the finish board, even if it didn't change the final result. I want to hear from you. Drop a quick yes or no in the comments. Should Shanahan have gone for two? I'll read the best takes in the next video. While all that controversy simmered, the game itself gave us a neat narrative. Brock Purdy made mistakes. 2 second half interceptions, but then delivered when it mattered most, marching the offense down on that final drive and finding McCaffrey in the end zone. It's the kind of mixed performance that feels human. You see both the cracks and the clutch, and that's often how postseason legends get built. Beyond the QB story, what really stood out on the rewatch was how much this team leaned on depth. The defensive line played 73 snaps, and the 49ers used 9 linemen for 27 snaps or more. That rotation wore down the Eagles and showed a front office and coaching staff that can plug in players and expect production. Small moves turned into big plays. Keon White, acquired late in the season, made tackles that mattered in the final sequence. Bryce Huff's pressure created throws that became throwaways. Interior push from Etor Gross-Moss helped flush pockets. All of that is the kind of stuff you don't always see on the stat sheet, but you feel it on the field. If you're enjoying this breakdown, subscribe and help us hit 1,000 subscribers. It's a small goal that gets us more coverage, more film breakdowns, and better content for Niners fans like you. Also hit like if this part landed with you. Next up, I'll break down Brock Purdy's finishing drive play-by-play and why, despite the picks, he's earned the coaching staff's trust in those clutch moments. You could almost feel the tension in the stadium when Brock Purdy got the ball back for that final drive, because it was one of those moments where everything that happened earlier either fades away or defines you. 2 interceptions in the second half had given Philadelphia life, and if you're a quarterback in January, that's the kind of stretch that follows you into the offseason if you don't answer it. Purdy answered it. On that final march, he went 5 of 7 for 42 yards, scrambled for another 5 when nothing was there, and then delivered a calm, on-time touchdown throw to Christian McCaffrey that didn't just give the 49ers the lead. It sucked the air out of the Eagles' sideline. That's what clutch really looks like. Not perfect football, but the ability to lock in when everything is on the line. And here's the bigger context that makes it even more impressive. This was the 4th time in 7 postseason games that Purdy has been credited with a fourth-quarter comeback or go-ahead drive. Even in the Super Bowl loss, he led drives that put the 49ers in front twice in the fourth quarter and again in overtime. The high scoreboard didn't reward it, but the pattern is there. When the game tightens and the moment gets heavy, he doesn't disappear. That's something you can build a championship run on. If you're watching this right now, I want you to think about that and answer me in the comments. Does Purdy's ability to deliver in crunch time outweigh the interceptions, yes or no? Those answers tell you how confident this fan base really is heading into the next round. What made this drive even more meaningful was how composed it was. No panic throws, no wild scrambles, just smart decisions, efficient completions, and that final strike to McCaffrey that felt inevitable once they crossed midfield. You could tell the coaching staff trusted him too. They didn't go into a shell. They let him throw. They let him read the defense. And he rewarded that trust. That relationship between a quarterback and a play caller is what separates good teams from teams that are still guessing. If you're liking these deeper breakdowns and you want more of them, make sure you're subscribed. We're pushing for 1,000 subscribers, and every new one helps us keep doing this kind of coverage for you. Now, here's where it all comes together. Because while Purdy was finishing the job on offense, the defense was getting ready to slam the door, and the way they did it might be the most impressive part of this entire win. What happened on that final Eagles drive is the kind of sequence that tells you everything you need to know about a football team, because it wasn't about one superstar making a highlight play. It was about waves of contributors doing just enough one snap at a time to win the game. The 49ers defense was on the field for 73 plays, which is a massive workload. And instead of wearing down, they leaned into one of their biggest strengths: depth. 9 defensive linemen played at least 27 snaps, and that constant rotation kept legs fresh and pressure coming. On first down of that last possession, Jalen Hurts broke the pocket and had open field in front of him. The kind of situation that turns into a back-breaking run if no one gets there. Keion White got just enough of him to trip him up for a 1-yard loss, with C.J. West closing in too. And that tiny moment completely changed the drive. White, remember, was picked up in a late-season trade for a 6th-round pick, and now he's under contract next year too, which makes that move look like a steal. According to PFF, he's already generated more quarterback pressures than any other 49ers lineman since joining the team. And you saw exactly why on that snap. Second down, Bryce Huff, another smart addition, brought pressure that forced Hurts into a throwaway. Earlier in the game, he had a tackle for loss, and here he showed up again when it mattered. 3rd and 11, and this is where subtle football wins games. Ettore Gross-Matos didn't blow Hurts up, but he pushed just enough from the inside to knock him off his spot, leading to another incomplete pass. Then on 4th down, Hurts had time and threw in rhythm, but Eric Kendricks got his hands on the ball, and that was it. Game over. Kendricks even said afterward he thought he should have picked it, but a pass breakup is all it took. That sequence wasn't flashy, but it was perfect team defense, and it's the kind of thing that carries you through January. I want to know from you, which of those defensive plays was the biggest? The Keion White trip, the Bryce Huff pressure, the Gross-Matos push, or the Kendricks breakup? Drop it in the comments, and let's see which moment fans think really sealed it. And if you're appreciating this kind of film room-style breakdown, hit like and subscribe. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers, and that support lets us keep diving this deep into every big 49ers moment. Now, as impressive as the front was, this win also belonged to the guys on the back end, and a few under-the-radar players who quietly played great football. And that's where we're going next. One of the coolest things about this win is how many guys you didn't hear about all week suddenly became huge factors once the ball was snapped. And the secondary is a perfect example of that. Renardo Green had an outstanding game in coverage, and he didn't allow a single completion. even though there was plenty of hand-fighting and more than a few moments where you were waiting to see if a flag would come out. It never did, and that's part of playoff football because corners who can be physical without crossing the line give your defense a real edge. Before the hamstring injury took him out, Jer Brown was playing very well too, and when he went down, Maris Siegel stepped in and didn't miss a beat, which says a lot about how prepared this roster is. Upton Stout also had himself a strong game, and early on, there was a play where if he had turned his head a split second sooner and got two hands on the ball, it could have been a pick six instead of just a pass. Breakup. Even then, you could tell his instincts were right, and those little moments add up. This is where special teams and small margins sneak into the story as well, because the Eagles missing an extra point earlier in the game ended up looming large when the scoreboard tightened late. When you're talking about postseason football, it's rarely just about stars, it's about who executes in those quiet moments, and the 49ers got that from a lot of different spots on the field. With the team now heading back on a short week, practice becomes an interesting subplot too, because the last time they had to turn around quickly, they went mostly walkthroughs, and that lack of full-speed work seemed to show up in the next game. How Shanahan manages that balance between rest and sharpness is going to matter, especially with Seattle coming up. I'm curious what you think, so answer me this in the comments. Would you rather see a light week to keep guys healthy, or full-speed practices to stay sharp? There's no right answer, but it tells you a lot about how fans see this team. And if you're enjoying these deeper conversations about the Niners, make sure you're subscribed and hit like. We're working toward that 1,000 subscriber goal, and your support really does make a difference. All of this leads to the bigger picture, though, because when you zoom out from this one win, you start to see what kind of team the 49ers really are and what their path forward looks like. When you step back and really look at what this win showed, it wasn't just that the 49ers survived a tough game, it was that they revealed their identity in the clearest way possible. This is a team that can win with stars when they're healthy, but also with depth when they're not, and that's a rare combination in January. The injury list has been brutal, especially when you consider that it hasn't just been role players going down, it's been some of the best names on the roster, from Nick Bosa and Mike Williams, on the defensive line to Fred Warner, and now George Kittle. Even with that, they keep finding ways to patch the holes and keep moving, and that speaks to how this roster was built and how it's being coached. Kittle's focus on getting back as soon as possible says a lot about the culture in that locker room. And even without a clear timetable yet, you know he's going to do everything he can to be out there. Looking ahead, the path in the NFC isn't as scary as it might seem on paper. The 49ers have already beaten every remaining team, Seattle included, and they've done it in those teams' buildings, which matters. They split the season series with both the Seahawks and the Rams, and they already took down the Bears too, so there's real evidence that this team can go anywhere and win. That doesn't guarantee anything, but it does mean this isn't a Cinderella story. It's a contender doing what contenders do. I want to hear from you before we close this out, so tell me in the comments, do you believe this team can run the table in the NFC, yes or no? And if you've stuck with me through this whole breakdown, make sure you like the video and subscribe. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and your support helps us keep bringing you this kind of in-depth 49ers coverage every single week.